Before the pandemic, I was invited to a baby shower. It was a co-ed baby shower, and I'm a man. There were some fun games and prizes given out. I managed to snag a prize for winning the diaper changing game, on dolls of course since speed was necessary, which was a nice glass mug that had assorted candy and other things in there. Of those was one big green piece of candy I'd never seen before, but I didn't think much of it. I also didn't think much about a piece of paper that was in the top of the mug that looked to be a sort of thanks for tending type thing, so I tossed it. I came home and let it sit on top of my dresser and collect a bit of dust since I don't eat a lot of candy these days, but I occasionally take out a small piece or two. Well, recently I had a big sugar craving, so I decided to take out the big green candy piece. I took a sniff of it and it had a sort of green apple scent, which made sense. The texture was something similar to other types of pill candies that are made from compressed powder, kinda like Smarties or bottle caps, but this thing was the size of a baseball at least. So I figured it was some sort of jawbreaker or something. It was in clear plastic with no description, but since it smelled fruity I unwrapped the plastic and took a big lick. A feeling of absolute dread spread through my body as my tongue fizzled and sputtered with an absolutely horrible flavor. It was like sour tartness mixed in with disappointment and fear. I quickly spat it out and went to wash my mouth out, throwing the green ball in the garbage. Today I spoke to my friend on the phone who'd helped organize the baby shower and had put together all the prizes. I told her that either the big green ball candy had gone bad, or she'd purchased a bad batch, and asked what in the heck it was supposed to be anyway. My friend grew really silent for a moment and said, "That was a bath bomb." She then proceeded to tell me that if I'd read the little paper insert that was in each cup prize, that I'd neglected, it would have told me it was a bath bomb. I of course, had never actually held a bath bomb before, let alone use one. But I know for sure now that they don't taste too great. TLDR, I licked a bath bomb because my fat ass thought it was candy. There is a small shop in my town of 400 people that my mom sent me to with her credit card to buy some things, and she said I could get some beer too. I was 21 at the time and went to the store not realizing I didn't bring my wallet. It's across the street from our house. I went to buy the beer but had to put it back because I didn't have my ID. Well, the store owner knows my parents and immediately assumed the most dramatic possibility: I was underage and tried to buy beer. He told them and my parents were like, "No, he's 21. Well, because it's small town America, the guy already told a bunch of other people, and so my stepdad got a bunch of questions from people about me being a little criminal and stuff. Mind you, I just graduated college to be a teacher. After he spread lies about me, I gave him a terrible review online anywhere I could think of, and the owner told my stepdad to tell me to take it down. I refused unless he apologized. That review will never go down. I was 8 or 9 at the time. I was an extremely skinny small little girl for my age. I hung out at the very bottom of the height and weight charts at the doctor's office. Adults would often mistake me for a child of 6, which I absolutely hated. It was summertime and my mom was home making lunch. I asked to go ride my bike. The rule was not around the block, just to the corner and back. We lived in a very small quiet town on a street that hardly ever had traffic unless it was the neighbors coming and going. My corner was about 8 houses down from my own house. I was cruising along on my new bike and I didn't quite hit the bumpy spot in the sidewalk correctly and I crashed pretty hard. I was laying there all twisted around my bike shaking. My helmet had fallen off because I never buckled the bottom strap, to be cool. I felt all shaky and I then worried I'd get in trouble for not buckling my helmet strap, assuming my mom saw me. Maybe 30 seconds passed and a car drove up to me at that corner. I had a car stop and a man's voice said, "Oh honey, are you okay?" I was trying to not cry by this point. I look up expecting a neighbor and I see a stranger. The man looked dirty and you could see all kinds of garbage all inside his car. The garbage was right up to all the windows and the car was rusty. He had pulled his car right over in such a way that he was almost right on the sidewalk in front of me. He had stayed in his car but he was leaning way out of his driver's side window and his door was a little open looking at me. He then said, "Come on, I'll take care of you." I lied and said I wasn't hurt. He got angry with me and said he'd just take me home. I remembered thinking, where would I sit? I said to him, "I'm not hurt." Then he said, "If you're not hurt you have to prove it." So I took all my strength and I untangled my legs and stood up. Then the man gave me a terrible angry look and peeled out and disappeared. I was so scared I took my shaky legs and I ran home crying. I left my helmet and my bike laying there. I tell my mother what happened and she walked down and grabbed my bike and helmet after lunch. As an adult I asked her if she remembered that incident. She told me that when she had walked to the corner to grab my things, she saw the tire tracks right up to the sidewalk. The car had pulled way over across where I must have fallen, and it also blocked me from view of anyone driving by. She thought maybe the man would have kidnapped me, but she wasn't sure. I was told that he probably just wanted to help. Then I was told again to not talk to strangers. If I need help, then I can only talk to a mommy with kids. I think that the dirty-looking man wanted to take me. He probably saw what he thought was a 5 or 6-year-old and was disappointed when I wasn't young enough and hurt enough to easily get picked up. It still creeps me out thinking how angry he got at me. If he'd been a tiny bit nicer, I might not be alive today. I worked at a large chain pizza joint for roughly 6 weeks, late April to early June, because I got laid off from my previous job due to the pandemic. Looking back, it was probably the most eventful and stressful period of my life. I made really good tip money, but I'm glad I quit. I'm a taller female, 5 feet 10 inches, but also skinny, so I'm still an easier target for creepy men. This happened in a rural town of roughly 35,000 people. 1. An older gentleman tried to remove my mask because he wanted to see me smile. 2. I called a guy using my cell phone because I had trouble finding his apartment. Later he texted me asking about my weight, cup size, and favorite sex position. 3. Getting catcalled by a large group of men when I delivered to a local dive bar. They weren't supposed to be open. 4. A manager at a local strip club aggressively offering me a position to work there at night when they reopen. 5. Being followed around by a guy at a large apartment complex before I told him to back off because I carried pepper spray. My store issued a warning for customer 1 and blacklisted customer 2 and 4. I don't know if I just got really unlucky during that period, or if I'm doing something to draw attention to myself. I tried to suck it up and develop a thick skin, but it was bad for my mental health. I told my friends these stories and they all understood why I quit. One of my guy friends even said maybe this job is better suited for less attractive girls, which is total BS. Your looks shouldn't affect how you do your job, especially if you're a woman. I still haven't forgave him for that comment. So fellow female drivers, how often do you run into these types of situation? What do you do to mentally prepare yourself? Have you ever thought about quitting? Also would like to hear this from male drivers' perspective. So this was a few years back. My immediate supervisor was a pretty cool guy, but my boss was very much a Kavina and a bit of a Karen too. I did photo/video editing. One day she comes up to me and tells me make this video with these things in it, so I did. She came back and said okay, but now compress it. I did as I was told, cutting the total file size in half. She comes back saying I didn't compress it at all. I told her I did. She said well, compress it more. So I compressed the compressed file, making it as small as I possibly could. It was in the single megabyte range at this time. She was furious, saying I wasn't doing what she was asking, and she got impatient with me, telling me just compress it over and over before walking away. That's when my supervisor came up. He told me that when she said to compress the video, what she actually meant was to cut a few seconds off the beginning and end so the video's duration was shorter. I told him that's not what compression meant, and he said I know, but she doesn't. So I cut some seconds off the video and went up to her saying hey, I compressed it for you, and she seemed really pleased and told me that wasn't so hard. And that's when I found out that Boss Kavina knew nothing about my job. There was an MD who called the pharmacy saying that his mom had a prescription for prednisone from another doctor and he was calling beforehand to make sure it would be ready before they got there. At first I misunderstood and thought he meant there was a refill, so I asked for a prescription number. MD: oh no, it's a new prescription. Me: oh, so they were sending it electronically. MD: no, they gave her a hard copy. Me: oh, so once you drop it off it'll only take us about 15 minutes to get it ready. MD: no, I'm calling ahead so that it will already be ready when we get there. Okay. I explained that no, I would need the prescription in order to fill it, and he didn't seem too happy about it. Like, what did you think? That's not how pharmacy works. The patient ended up coming inside and dropping the prescription off about a half hour later, and I told her it would be about 10 to 15 minutes. It'll take that long? Sigh. I then explained the process behind filling a prescription and what goes on behind the scenes and why it takes so long to fill a prescription. Which honestly is taking my time away from filling it. But whatever. She said she would come back later. She never came before we closed, so, woman shrugging. Still not over the fact that they thought they could call ahead and it would be ready for when they dropped off the prescription, smiley face. This just happened, and I'm just flabbergasted. Guests must think we are stupid or something, honestly. This family, with adult kids, checked in, went out to dinner, and came back. This followed. Mom, hi, we'd like to move my daughter to a new room, if you don't mind. Me, sure, we're pretty empty tonight, so I have plenty. She's now in 1403, here are the keys. Can you let me know when she's moved into the new room? Mom, thank you, we'll get her moved in a second. About 5 minutes later, the mom is walking by and just says, thank you. Me, oh, do you have the keys to that room? Mom, oh, I didn't know you'd need them. She just left them in the room. She starts walking away. Me, okay, I'll just go up there and get them, I need them to block the room. Mom, oh, my son is in there right now. Me, oh, well okay, if he can bring me the keys after he moves, that'd be great. Mom, he'll just leave them in there, no worries, tries walking away again. Me, okay, I'll give him about 20 minutes and I'll go up there and get them. Mom stops, well, he'll probably just stay in there, good night. Me, oh, so you wanted an extra room, that's fine, I'll just make a reservation for that room, have a good night. Mom, no, I mean we moved our daughter, she needed to move, and since we already paid for the first one, it should be fine that she needed to move to the second. Me, oh yeah. Totally fine, like I said, I'll make a new reservation for that room and charge the card on file. Mom, but, why? There's literally no reason to charge us for another room? Me, you're staying in 1401, your son is in 1402, and now your daughter is in 1403. That's 3 rooms, so you'll need to pay for all 3. Mom, getting angry, no, we only paid for 2, my daughter had to move because your room upset her allergies. She had to move, so we just left our son in the other. We only paid for 2. I don't know why this is so hard. Me either. You have 3 rooms, you'll pay for 3 rooms. Mom, who's the manager? Me. And so that's 3 rooms charged to that card. Mom, I'll talk to someone above you tomorrow. Me, that's fine ma'am, and they'll tell you if you have 3 rooms, you have to pay for 3 rooms. She stalked off to her room. Ugh. People. This FU happened on Saturday. I'm a dentist relatively new in my career and I've always had an interest in forensics. While I was a dental student, I helped out with several identifications and thought it was great because I was helping provide families closure and am able to help out detectives with investigations. As such, I have volunteered to help out on cases for the foreseeable future because my state really needs help due to the fact that not many dentists are interested in examining dead bodies and you really don't get paid for it either. It's kind of a service to the community more than anything. To date, I have seen accidents, several suicides, and a whole number of bizarre cases, but it has never really impacted me much. I have always been able to disassociate myself from the situation, be objective, complete my exam and move on. This weekend, however, I was called to help identify a body that had been found. The autopsy indicated that the person had signs of blunt force trauma. Seeing and doing an exam on this person just struck me. I can't give details about the case due to it being an active investigation, but it was absolutely horrific. I finished my work, got a positive identification, and then spent the next hour in my car crying. Luckily I didn't throw up or anything, but I have not stopped thinking about the case since then. I am one of the only people who are willing to do this service in my area and I feel like I am responsible/have a duty to continue to help when needed. There are sick people out there and I'm realizing I signed up for something that may just be too much for me. Now I will forever have the images of that last case burned into my brain. I just hope that the victim's family can finally have some sort of closure. TL, Doctor, I helped identify a murder victim via dental records and it flipped me up. For a few requests to smooth out this disjointed account, I added some details for newer members. I was drafted in '70 and my MOS was 11B, aka a ground pounder. I was promoted to E5 in Vietnam in '71 when I transferred to a rear area unit. Nope, I wasn't a rocker or hippie at 21 when I quit college, more like a Forrest Gump type who just went along for the ride. I was called up for the 2-week Army Annual Reserve training in 1973 at Camp Roberts, which is near Paso Robles in central CA. A captain presided over the rules and work schedule briefing. But before he could speak, someone made a remark. It was the "old your grandmother wears combat boots" line. He reacted by cupping his hands near his groin area. Well, this was entertaining. His staff knew he liked to loosen up the crowd, I guess. A week later I was in the chow line when this same O3 was in front of me. He then turned around and made faces at the top sergeant, who was duly amused. I don't recall much else after that except for wearing E5 stripes and a guy saying thanks Sarge when I climbed a tree to get something. It was the only time I was addressed like that, and it felt weird because my promotion orders hadn't gone through until my last day of active duty. I did mention that in another post. There was also the guy that let us cram into his Porsche one weekend who cranked it up to 100 and passed a car by driving on the dirt shoulder. Good times. Last night I stopped at the store for a few things, wore a mask and all that fun stuff. At one point the mask kept sagging weird, so I took a second to readjust it. Enter Karen, who apparently only saw the 3 seconds I wasn't wearing a mask. Why don't you have a mask on? Such a snippy tone, but whatever, I guess. By this point I've already put it back on, so I just look at her like it's right here, and go back to my shopping. All employees must wear a mask at all times. You're putting everyone at risk. Keep in mind, she's not even wearing a mask, but again, whatever. I don't work here, it's encouraged for customers but not required. Well, I can't wear a mask because of my asthma, so you still have to. She mumbled something about kids these days, but I had blocked her out as best as I could. Well, you could at least move so I can safely reach the stuffing. I didn't notice until then, but she had been closer than 6 feet from me the whole time. I'm all about staying civil and keeping everyone safe, but this lady was too much. Nope. The longer you bug me, the longer I'm going to be browsing here. You know the old lady grasping her pearls gasp? She made that noise so loud I couldn't help but chuckle. I need to see your manager. I had already told her I didn't work here, and I thought she heard me, but apparently not. I tried again, but she kept cutting me off, saying manager over and over like a broken record. This is where I got petty. I could have left, could have kept explaining that I didn't work there, could have gotten an actually store employee. But instead I just took off my mask. She ran. Like way faster than I expected an older lady to run, let alone an older lady with bad enough asthma to justify not wearing a mask. Maybe she thought I was going to cough on her? Makes me think she's messed with people before and maybe someone else reacted that way? I didn't see her after that, thankfully. The evil part of me wanted to touch every single stuffing box. Too far, could affect others, but hilarious idea. I can't even imagine what she would have done. It was just so weird to me she would make such a big fuss, not follow any guidelines herself, then just run away never to be seen again. Some say she's still running to this day. DL, doctor, I have to follow the guidelines perfectly, Karen does not, and removing your mask apparently scares her off. So before I start I should mention that 1, I work at Chick-fil-A. 2, I can understand why she mistook me for an employee. 3, this is by far not the worst case of I don't work here, but it's the first time it happened to me. So, I went to Circle K after work to get a big ass drink, and while I'm getting my drink I hear a from behind me. I just ignored it because I'm tired and stuff. Then I feel a tap on my shoulder, so I turn around and this lady starts demanding that I help her, and how can I just ignore her? So, I tell her that I don't work here. And she just scoffed and said, "But you're wearing the uniform. You're just trying to be lazy, aren't you?" Keep in mind I'm still wearing my name tag which clearly says Chick-fil-A on it. I once again tell her that I don't work there, and I can't help her, but she's still not listening, so I just take my name tag off and show it to her. She finally gets the point and just walks off without saying another word. So, again, not the worst case of I don't work here lady, but I thought it was mildly amusing. For anyone that may ask, my uniform is a red shirt and black slacks, and the Circle K uniform is a red shirt and khakis. A long while back I was dating someone whose landlord, who lived in the same area of the house, treated them badly. Eventually it got bad enough that they moved out. Once I knew she was moving out, I decided to do something a bit petty to make us feel a little bit better about how she was treated. Her landlord loved to travel to different beaches all around the world. Every one she would go to, she would collect a little jar of sand from the beach and a little bit of water from the ocean. She kept them all on display in the main bathroom. Every time she would have anyone new over, she would do the tour, and the highlight for her was always showing off this collection. On one of the last days before we left for good, I replaced all the sands with sands from parks in the area and all the waters with tap water. To this date, been over 15 years now, she likely is unaware of the changes I made, but it still makes me smile thinking of her showing off her park sand and tap water to new guests. I don't want to give too many details as I am already anxious enough as it is, but yesterday after a confrontation with my manager I immediately took my break and called his direct manager, who is also one of the most high-up people in the company in my state. For the record, I am the assistant manager at the store I work at but do my job and the job of my manager. He is lazy, calls in ill all the time, comes in late, leaves early, etc. Pretty sure if you look up the definition of bad manager there's a picture of him. Anyway, he knows something is up because HR called him today to get some preliminary statements. He keeps bothering me to tell him what I said and why. It's my day off and he keeps calling and texting me. I don't have to see him until tomorrow. Obviously, I will be recording any time that he talks to me. If he's done nothing wrong then he shouldn't be freaking out as much as he is. I'm just anxious to see him tomorrow because I know he's going to demand answers and I happen to be an angry crier. Should I just tell him that I have nothing to say? I just want the investigation to run its course and him to be dealt with as the company sees fit. We have cameras everywhere so it's not like he can say he was there when he wasn't. Oh well. I work at a small-town coffee shop that has managed to adapt and stay busy during COVID-19 by utilizing a window for walk-up service. A regular problematic customer, let's call him TJ, is a typical middle-aged man riddled with toxic masculinity. He often makes female employees and customers uncomfortable with his comments. Lately he's been around a lot, being typical TJ. Today he came to our window and ordered a coffee. Cool, nothing out of the ordinary. A co-worker asked him if he would like to tip via our Square register. We normally don't verbally ask customers, but with the current pandemic we are not allowing customers to touch our iPad system. He proceeded to tell her to put 100, and reassured them he wanted to tip that much because he appreciates our hard work and effort and wants to chip in since our business has been a bit slower. Okay, I gave him that and almost have a change of heart about DJ. We both outwardly thank him and he goes on his way. I text my boss about this uncharacteristic interaction with TJ and through their end of the register system she was able to look at the transaction. They noticed that not only was the credit card he used not in his name, but in his boss's name, on their company card. Typical TJ. What a D-bag. I read someone else's blackout and I wanted to post about a woman who arrived when our power was out. PR. Now I work at a budget property who caters to long-term guests of 30+ nights. We have people who actually live at our property, which is why we need to keep the desk open even when the power is out. Most of the new arrivals of the 2 or so days were understanding and did not want to stay at a hotel with no power anyway. However, one woman, oh boy, out power has been out since the previous evening. The woman enters. Oh my God. Why is it so dark in here? Our power is out, ma'am. Well, why did you sell me a reservation and take my money for a hotel with no power? I ignore her question and fast track to actually doing something productive. When did you book your reservation? A few minutes ago. I suspect this is a lie because our website closed us and the third parties had us closed the previous night. Okay, do you know who you booked with? Okay, ma'am, you'll have to contact them to confirm your refund. Once our system is back up we'll process it on our end. This is not good enough. Of course it never is. She seems to think I personally put her money in my pocket. I just don't understand why you took my money. I didn't, P did. Which is why you need to confirm your refund with them. Well, you participate with all these websites and allow them to sell rooms when you have no power. They should have been notified. They were. They should not have sold you the room. At this point her husband rushes her out because he can tell that I am working in a dark sweltering building and that there's nothing I can do since I don't control P or the power company. I'm just still dumbfounded at this woman. The whole area has no power. You walk in and find out we have no power, so you yell at the only person who might be able to help you. If she were nice I could have called a location 25 minutes away with power to see if they were full yet. If they were not rapidly filling I would have just sent this lady and her husband. I don't know where they went, but I am glad they didn't become my long-term problem. My original post didn't get a crazy amount of attention, but a recent occurrence has left me very confused and I was hoping someone on here had some better insight. My original post is here. So a couple neighbors that I'm friends with have been helping me be on the lookout for suspicious characters, and then today one of them told me that on Sunday night, while I was home, a strange woman who she's never seen around the complex knocked on her door around 9:45 p.m. and asked if I lived there. She didn't use my name, just described me. My neighbor, knowing the situation with me, just said no and closed the door. I do not know WTF is going on, and this new development has really confused me. If anyone has any idea what might be happening, I would really appreciate the advice. First time posting, currently a EMS dispatcher for a private ambulance company for 3 years now. We take some calls, however, they're usually seizures, psych, and falls. This one? Probably should have been psych, but unfortunately she wasn't the patient. This call happened in my first year, while I was pretty fresh and didn't understand the power of controlling a call. And #X200B. Me, okay, tell me exactly what happened. CLR, yeah, my mom fell in the other room, you know we have her locked in there right now, but yeah she fell and I think she may have hit her head. Me, okay, are you with her now? CLR, well, you see, she has dementia, and we live in a new home, so she is locked in there. You see, we can't have her wandering because of the bears that are around here. Me, have you gone to check on her yet? CLR, no, I can't unlock her door because she will get out and the bears will get her. Me, can you please go check on the patient? CLR, yeah, I think she might have hit her head, it sounded like she hit the end table, that's what woke me up, but even our big dog, insert large dog brand, is afraid to go outside because there are bears here at this new house. Please send the ambulance but make sure they get in and out quick because the bears will get them. Rinse and repeat for literally every one of the 10 questions involved with a fall. I was essentially working with a third-party caller as she flat out refused to unlock her mother from the room until the EMTs got there, let alone even go look at her. And #X200B. I kid you not, I heard way more about these bears than I ever got out of her regarding her fallen mother. While I may have wanted to bash my head into the desk repeatedly asking her the questions, now I can have a good belly laugh over it. From what I do remember though, Mom was transported alright, and no EMTs were mauled by the darn bears. So this morning I got a call from my dad while he was at work to remind me I've got to check our bees to see if the new queen is laying. We recently hatched a new queen after an artificial split and need to know if she's made it yet, so I went outside, put my suit on and went about an inspection as I normally would. About halfway through the inspection I hear a bee buzzing weirdly close to me. Then I see her. Right in front of my nose and she's angry. Before I could do anything she landed and stung my right on the tip of my nose while I was holding a frame full of bees. Turns out I had forgotten to make sure that my suit was properly zipped up and she had gotten in. Fast forward to half an hour later, my eye is swollen along with about half my face. Video called my doctor as I have gone into anaphylaxis before because of bee stings and she said I should be fine but to call her again if my breathing became difficult or any other symptoms of anaphylaxis came along. I've also got a meeting at school tomorrow morning about going on to the next school year. If I don't attend I might not move on to the next school year. TL, doctor, I didn't zip up my bee suit properly and now I'm gonna be going to a school meeting looking like Conan. So this happened about 4 years ago when I was 27-28. At the time I worked in a job that was about 45 minutes drive away on a good day. It was a drive along little country roads to get to this isolated country town, but the pay was good and the benefits worked for me. Each night on my way home, I would drive down the main street of the town to an intersection, turning right to head home. This one night, I drove down to this intersection and waited for the lights to turn. Suddenly I hear this rap on my passenger window. I turned and see these two men staring at me through the window of their car. Both kind of scruffy, the driver looking really angry. Wondering what was going on, I lowered my window. The driver didn't even let me talk. "Why'd you cut me off back there?" I was confused, having not seen another car when I pulled out. "I didn't." He looked even more angry at my denial. "Yes you did, back on road. We nearly crashed." "I didn't come down road, I was in the parking area at the top of the street and turned down from other road. It must have been someone with a similar car. My car's a distinctive color, but I've seen a lot of other cars like it." "You effing liar, I don't believe you." He was getting redder and redder. At this point his friend chips in. "Why are you looking so nervous if it wasn't you?" "Because your friend looks really angry, and I have an anxiety disorder. Plus you're two men accosting a young woman on her own." At this point there's a beep from behind me. We're holding up traffic. I pull off, ignoring a roar from him. However, as I was driving, I heard a prolonged beep from behind me and saw him following me in the mirror. He must have cut into my lane to follow me. I began to become really frightened as they followed me towards a main road, wondering what I should do. A set of traffic lights turned red ahead of me and I slowed, panicking. I quickly locked my car doors in case. Next thing I knew, He was pounding my car door, trying to open it. I didn't remember this, but I found out after that he had some sort of hammer in his hands and he broke my car window, trying to pull me out of the car by my hair, then hitting me once when he couldn't get me out. I think he must have knocked me out, because next thing I knew a couple was checking my pulse and trying to stem the bleeding from a cut on my forehead. Apparently this couple saw him pulling out past me, nearly colliding with the traffic light. In the end, he was caught. He pleaded not guilty in court and I had to take the stand. It was proven via CCTV footage that I wasn't the driver he nearly collided with. He's in jail still. All over road rage and a case of mistaken identity. Road rage man. Let's not meet again. William Gu, a 22-year-old City University of New York student, was last seen on March 7, 2013 in Brooklyn. He was supposed to meet a friend in Staten Island that night but he never showed up. A car William was believed to have been driving on March 7 was later found abandoned at the Somerset Diner on Easton Avenue in Somerset, New Jersey. Qas Shaheen, the manager of the Somerset Diner, stated he saw the abandoned car in front of the diner on March 7, and it appeared to have been involved in a car crash. William's keys and cell phone were found inside the car. At the time, police had not yet confirmed whether William was driving the 1998 silver Lexus that belonged to his roommate. The police reviewed surveillance camera footage in the area where the Lexus was found but found nothing of interest. Police were especially concerned about William as he had a traumatic brain injury in a 2011 car crash which police observed causes increased concern for his safety due to his suffering from depression, paranoia and other psychotic behaviors along with minor hallucinations as a result of the accident. He has never been known to be violent but his condition may cause him to hide from police and others who want to help him. In April 2013, the Perth Amboy Police Department noted they had exhausted all search efforts and were not planning any additional searches. However, while physical searches have ended, they stated they would continue investigating and will proceed with weekly checks with friends and family members. They also surmised perhaps Williams does not want to be found but conceded that would be complete speculation on their part. At the time of the disappearance, Cindy Chan, Williams' friend, helped put flyers up around Rutgers University with Williams' picture and description. She chose Rutgers since the university was located close to Somerset Diner. His family and friends also started a group on social media to aid in the search. William remains missing. He was last seen wearing blue jeans and a black North Face jacket. He is an Asian male who is 5 feet and 11 inches tall and weighs about 145 pounds with black hair and brown eyes. He has a scar on his thigh. Anyone with information can call the Perth Amboy Police Department at 732-324-3813, New Jersey State Police at 800-709-7090 or the New York Police Department at 718-946-3311. Questions. The links below comprise all the information I found on his disappearance. The most recent news article was from April 2013. Are there any updates? Were the police able to determine whether it was William driving the car? Links. So, I don't know how to start this so I will only tell some context first. My birthday was on June 23 and one of my friends was on 24, time zones. My friends and I are pretty close, we would hang out often and do what a group of friends do. I woke up on my birthday, and to no surprise, got no messages wishing me a happy birthday. I'm shy and won't talk to people that I don't know. I would go and continue the day, doing everyday things, mostly playing video games, and help cook for my birthday. I don't expect much from others to wish me a happy birthday but I expected a group of people to, my friends but not a single one wished me a happy birthday. I, of course, felt a bit sad, I thought they would remember. It was getting late and I laid down and talked casually with my friends, not a single one didn't have a clue that it was my birthday. We would go on and talk, until the 24th hit. I was not aware of the time. One of my friends damned me about a surprise party. I thought that they were trying to bait me. They invited me to a call and was told to wait. My friend, who was the actual recipient for the surprise party, answered the call. Everyone shouted happy birthday, except for me and him. I was overwhelmed with joy thinking it was for me. I gave a birthday speech and also thanked everyone. I was in the middle of weeping in joy when some of them laughed. They told me this surprise was for my friend and jokingly asked for my birthday. I was so ashamed at that point that I left the call and left the server. I only gave myself false hope and just ruined their plans and my friend's happy day. DL, Doctor, no one wished me a happy birthday. My friends planned a surprise party for one of my friend and thought it was a bait for me. I ruined the party by thinking it was supposed to be for me. I worked for the Happy and Healthy store. Now I'm not a person to judge, but we have a patient that comes in once in a while who legitimately looks like a reject Duck Dynasty character. I've helped him out a few times so he thinks we're all buddy-buddy. Couple of weeks ago he came in drive-thru. As I'm ringing him up I asked the mandatory any questions for the pharmacist? Well, he's got a shoot-eating grin and responded no, but I've got a question for you. Yeah, sure, what's your question? Are you free Friday night? Big yikes, my dude. How do I even respond to that? He's at least double my age. So I kinda just laughed it off. Obviously he thought he was hot shoot and said something like no need to answer so long as I got the pretty lady to laugh. I'll try again next time maybe. Then yesterday he comes back again and drive. I told him we have some meds ready and that I would be right back. He told me no worry princess, I know where you are. At that point I took the meds and pleaded the pharmacist to ring him out. Told the RPH that he legitimately makes me uncomfortable and I genuinely do not like him. Am I overreacting? I've been working retail for 5 years now and retail pharmacy for a year. Yeah, I've had customers act kind of like this but not to the point where I legit get shivers. Thoughts? Only second post on this sub and on mobile again. As I mentioned in my last story, I work in billing for an auto insurance company. This is not a funny story. DW, murder, violence. I get a call yesterday from a distraught man. He picks up and I can tell at the beginning he is sobbing quietly. I adjust my mentality from peppy can-do service to compassionate carer. Sir, I have your policy here. What can I help you with? He goes on to tell me in vivid detail how his wife was murdered in their home, her body was wrapped up, stuffed in the trunk of the car, driven around for a couple of hours, tied to cinder blocks, and dumped into a creek. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I understood that what we needed to do was to total the car because it was now in police impound for an active murder investigation. My heart sank when I had to transfer him to claims to start the process for him. Of course, being in insurance, I've heard every excuse and lie people can come up with, but I found the news articles later and my heart broke all over again. I had never wished a policyholder to be lying so bad before. This did actually happen today. DL, doctor at the bottom. I'm moving out of my apartment and had to deep clean for the walkthrough. The bathroom is a little older and I always had trouble getting the dirt and grime out of the tiles and grout. While venting to my friend about scrubbing tiles, she suggested I try putting bleach in a spray bottle to get it into the cracks. Brilliant. Moment of truth arrives. I take an almost empty spray bottle of bathroom cleaner, pour in some bleach and spray it everywhere. Floor, toilet, shower, tiles, bathtub, you get the picture. I start scrubbing. Wow. My eyes and throat are burning. This is unpleasant. I turn the fan on. The burning intensifies. It was at this moment I realized my flip up. I pried out of the bathroom with the cleaner in hand and read the tiny print on the back of the bottle, do not mix with products containing bleach. Doing so will create toxic gases. I created mustard gas and spent my time running in and out of the bathroom trying to wipe up my potentially fatal mistake so I could actually clean the bathroom, and had to open all the windows and doors for an hour in 90 degrees Fahrenheit heat while scrubbing an entire apartment top to bottom. Smile. DL, doctor, I was an idiot and sprayed my bathroom down with mustard gas, almost caused me to pass out alone in my bathroom with a bottle of mustard gas in my hand. Edit, have learned I created chlorine gas, not a mustard gas, but could have died either way. Read your labels, people. Recently I graduated high school and while reminiscing with my friends our 4 years in high school and we remember this odd dude that suddenly disappeared. Now this guy was a very odd guy with an odd vibe and nobody in the school really liked him because he was always trying to argue with anyone over anything. For example, he once started to talk shit about deaf PPL to one of my friends who has a deaf brother. So often PPL would go off on him for obvious reasons and for those reasons he was mostly alone, but that never stopped him from talking to everyone. After a while he suddenly started having less energy and not starting arguments or being as controversial as much around the school. He would love giving teachers a hard time and he even stopped doing that. He even started wearing thick jackets during the summer everywhere, even in PE class. Everyone started getting uneasy cause this wasn't a normal behavior for him, he was basically isolating himself. Now this one time he out of nowhere gathers some energy and started to have an argument with one of my friends about her divorced parents. And that's a very sensitive topic for my friend for obvious reasons, my other friends and I started going off on him. So when he started getting bombarded he told all of us that on our junior year of high school he was gonna shoot up the school. And since this is America, my friends, and I got a little shaken up by that statement but never said anything, not sure why. Sophomore year he must have transferred or something, but what he said always stayed in the back of our minds. It never happened, but still, who the flip says that? My friends and I tried to look him up to see whatever happened to him, but it seems like he erased all his social media, so who knows what he's doing now. I just read a story that reminded me of this. A few years ago we moved and scheduled installation of internet on the same day of closing. I specifically booked the end of day, 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, slot because I knew we had closing first thing that morning. Got the okay from our seller to park the 24 moving truck in the driveway overnight before closing, which was great because the house was a vacant new build. Closing had its own challenges, was some confusion about when we would get keys. Long story short, we got keys just after lunch instead of 9 o'clock. No worries, internet install was the only thing scheduled for much later. We start unpacking. Around 5:15 I realize I never heard from the installer, so I called customer service and they track him down. Turns out he came by around lunch, before we got there, and knocked on the door, but obviously no one came. He assumed we were there because the realtor had cut on all the lights and the moving truck was there. Fair enough, but we had an appointment for a later time. Asked CS if they can send another tech or can the original tech come back by later. Tech calls back and says he can't make it back, I have to reschedule. Ends up being 3 days later, when I'm already scheduled back at work. Completely horrible experience. And bonus story, on another transfer of service I got billed the regular bill and a new service bill. And of course they can draft the money immediately ACH, but it can take up to 30 days to mail it back, or credit off next month's bill. Thanks guys, none of that covers the other bill set to draft tonight. Bartender at a local pizza joint. My buddy came in after a long day dealing with his 2 sick little girls. He tells me a story from today about the littlest. She's screaming for him from the bathroom. She states she's been waiting for 60 years for him. All she wanted was a cheese pizza from our place. Since they were sick he went with something more appropriate for upset stomachs. But you can guarantee I got him a gift certificate for a cheese pizza for her when she's better. Nice to have good customers to even out the bad ones, lol. Guy calls in this morning telling me he's getting signed up for a bunch of different newsletters he doesn't want. Asked if we can give him the IP address to see who's doing it. We can't without a court order. I explain this to him. Caller: well, that's silly, you can't even send it to my email address? Me: unfortunately not, I can't violate our privacy policy for you. Caller: that's ridiculous, check with them again. I do, same answer. Shocker. He sits there in silence until it gets awkward. Me: we can still add you to our global block list and you won't receive any of our emails. I understand this doesn't solve the problem of someone signing you up for other newsletters, but it's the best we can do on our side. Would you like to do that? Caller: no, that's silly, I don't want to get blocked from getting newsletter, I want the IP address. Me: okay, is there anything else I can assist you with? Caller: no, have a good day. Like, okay? I get we didn't solve your problem, but it wasn't our problem to solve. It's not our fault your email is compromised, and we did offer a solution that would at least help a bit. I don't understand his logic at all. Like, okay, keep getting emails you don't want then, lol. I worked in housekeeping in a hotel for months up until this past week. I'm now 35 weeks pregnant. I was scheduled to work 5+ days a week, with 20+ rooms to myself. I came into work recently, because I was on the schedule, and I could barely walk. I couldn't bend my back and my ankles were hugely swollen. I had been in L&D the night before to stop contractions. We didn't have many rooms, but 5 housekeepers in-house. Everyone was almost begging my manager to send me home, as we had too many housekeepers for the amount of rooms. Now, I'm huge at this point in pregnancy. I can't bend too far forward in general. My manager and I, discussed a couple weeks ago that she didn't want me cleaning bathtubs, so I was to have another housekeeper come clean my bathtubs. No biggie, I was fine with that. Well, the day before I quit I had went to find another HK to help with a bathtub. Said manager stopped us in the hall and asked what we were doing socializing on the clock. We explained that she was going to clean a bathtub for me and would go right back to her rooms. She yelled at me and said that if I can't do my job, I need to quit so that she can hire someone who's willing to work. I explained that it wasn't that I wasn't willing to work, rather that's one small task that I myself struggle with accomplishing. She didn't care. She continued yelling at me. Now, I've always hated being yelled at, so I spent the rest of my shift crying while cleaning my rooms. I got home from work, Still crying. My boyfriend became extremely upset as I told him what had happened. We decided that it's in the best interest of our child that I just be done, as it's a lot of emotional trouble as well as physical. So I gave my manager her wish, and I went in and handed in my scrubs and quit. She seemed sympathetic, said she understood, was sad to see me go, and for me to come talk to her after I was released from maternity leave. Fast forward to today, another HK at said hotel was talking to this manager, while recording the conversation to send to me. She asked if I would be back after baby. The manager told her that I was Lizzie and a crybaby, so she would never consider hiring me back. I'm glad I quit. I feel like I dodged a bullet. I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to convince myself to work in housekeeping again.